Final hour and good afternoon. It's Saturday, March 28th, 2026. Good old 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. I'm Peter Boyles, and along with Jonathan Flora, 80 will be the high, 81 on Sunday and 82 on Monday. So we'll get in the Wayback Machine. I get into the radio station usually a couple hours in the middle of the week. And so I'm here during the Jeff and Bill show, and they have a guest in this studio, John Brooks. I don't know from John Brooks from anybody, and I listen to this guy talk, and he starts making sense, and I think, this guy can't be a Republican gubernatorial candidate. Ladies and gentlemen, please say good morning. He's by phone. He was going to be with us, but he's on Zoom with us now. Do I have to punch him up, or you got him from here? So you put him back up on hold. He's on. There he is. John, good morning. I am. Hey, man. Good morning. Thanks for you're good for your word, and you're with us on a Saturday morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Actually, it's afternoon now. How are you doing?
You're right. Well said. I told so many people about you. I said, I meet this guy, and I said, he's running as a Republican, and he's like a normal guy. And I'm thinking to myself, what are you thinking? This is my partner. This is Jonathan, and I don't think you guys have met. You're kind of a virtual unknown, and so let's just begin at the beginning. I know you're campaign manager from days gone by, and we went out and we sat in the other side of the wall, and you were that great line, "Stop making sense." So about you, and then why you're doing this, and then we'll go from there, and we'll take calls, and we'll see where you go. So first of all, a little bit about yourself, and then why you decided in this insane world of Republican gubernatorial candidates, you've become one.
Well, thanks. First of all, thanks for having me, Peter. It's a great honor to be with you today. Getting into politics was not in my bucket list. Certainly wasn't on my wife's bucket list, I can promise you that. But over the years, I grew up in Colorado, moved here as a little boy. I was 7 years old. Last several decades, I have a background of serving as a chief and a paramedic firefighter in emergency services, and also a member of the Air Force Reserves, and for the last quarter century as an executive and CEO at Data Tech. And I really have never been into politics before, but I've really started to believe that the state just needs fresh visions, fresh views, fresh approaches to the issues that have really been building in the state and just been ignored in the state. And I've never been elected to government. I think I've been elected to my HOA, and that's just about as far as I go. But I have run government agencies, and when I was a chief of emergency services, I ran healthcare operations in our emergency services group, and we took our business to being a business and off the back of taxpayers and made it completely self-sufficient. On the technology side, six of us started a company out in Broomfield, rose it up to 1,000 employees, and through two multinational acquisitions and mergers, and 1,000 employees and hundreds of millions of dollars worth of projects around the world. And so I'm not a politician, and I really just believe that Colorado's it's not a podcast, it's not a church, it's not a legislative chamber, it's not a courtroom. Colorado's an enterprise, and we're competing with 49 other state enterprises for federal dollars, industry investment, tourism, et cetera. Who better to know how to raise money, how to build infrastructure, how to bring industry into areas, how to work on economies and workforce development and so on, than somebody that's actually an enterprise professional, somebody who's done that for a living. And looking at this, I'm not getting any younger. And as I said, my wife wasn't a fan, but she knows that I'm very passionate about just wanting to put Colorado back on the right track again. I'm tired of the offense and defense and trench warfare of both parties. I am a conservative Republican, and as we discussed out a few days ago, I grew up in Boulder, which is not common to come out as a conservative, but there's a lot more of us there than you would think. I've actually lived in Douglas County for the last 10 years, but what Boulder taught me was the tripartisan nature of our state and how to actually move things forward for everybody. And as governor, as a Republican conservative governor, I get to own the goalpost. I get to set where we're trying to get to. Who gets me there? I don't care what party they're on. I'm past that. And I really want to get back to a point in Colorado where we can move the state forward and stop with this warfare.
Let me take a couple of shots, and Jonathan will open the phones up, 303-696-1971. And I was thinking I knew we were going to talk, and I know that your schedule got changed. I got to ask you this, and I was almost going to ask you this off the air if you were in studio. There had to be something that I call a make break, or the straw that breaks, or the light goes on. You're watching all of this, well, organized insanity, gubernatorial policy, or gubernatorial politicians, or whatever they want to call themselves, all going for one job, the governor's job. Where was the moment for you where you said, no, that's enough, I'm going to get into this?
Well, and it was a moment for me, and it was a moment for my friends that we go back 5 or 6 decades. Our South Florida crew, we were actually a pretty tight crew. To this day, 250 of us from high school are still very, very good friends. It's been over 40 some years now. What became the moment for me was over the summer when I looked at the field on both sides, and I didn't see the whole package. I saw some candidates that all had some interesting things to offer. They were all Republican as far as I was concerned. I didn't see anything on the Democrat side, of course, as a conservative Republican that I liked. But interestingly, my friends didn't either. And most of them are not Republican. And they finally came to me and they said, look, we know you. We know you're a Republican, but we also know that you're going to look at all sides of an issue before you take a path forward. And you're looking out for everybody. And that's really, to me, the governor's job.
But don't you have to, if I may, don't you have to, and I've said this to people, it seems to go nowhere. Elections are won in the middle. And I mean,
absolutely.
That's absolutely, it's evidentiary. Elections are won in the middle. And anybody that opens up the front door and says, I'm going to pardon Tina Peters, or the election was stolen from Ronald Reagan. You hope. The election was stolen from Donald Trump. You've lost.
Yeah.
Now, I'm watching the gubernatorial hopefuls in the Republican Party. If somebody stands up there and says either one of the opposites to those two statements, they're not going to get the nod. That party is not going to give anyone the gubernatorial run that doesn't believe, one, the election was stolen, or that Tina Peters should be pardoned.
And if you take the position the other way, you get attacked from the conservative side.
Bingo.
Absolutely. And you're a rhino, you're a dino, you're this, you're that, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't get involved in any of that. I really
You're
don't.
You're going to have to. You're going to have to.
And I will.
Yeah.
And as we were talking on Jeff and Bill's show the other day, I've taken a position on the Tina Peters piece as a sentence commuting, not a pardon, because I believe there's a good argument and legal tailwinds blowing in her favor right now that need to play out. I don't believe a pardon is the right move. If she's able to
and the fact that you would say that she doesn't deserve a pardon, they're coming down on you. I mean, I'm being honest.
Absolutely, and I'm not saying deserve or not deserve. I'm just saying that I believe, based off of age and health and sentence severity, I believe there's defensible ground for any Republican amongst a sea of other parties to say commutation makes sense. Let her fight her battles out of jail, especially in the light of a Democratic lawmaker having similar, not the same, but similar charges where she basically had a far, far lesser sentence associated with that. So, and even Jared Polis is saying the same thing, but that and the election, the whole election integrity piece and so on, I look at all of that and say, all right, first of all, let's look forward and clean up our voter rolls. Let's look forward and digitize our state budget. Let's look forward and do things that take us off of the radar for Washington wanting to audit us for anything. And coming from a data tech background for the last quarter of a century, that stuff's not rocket science. Why we haven't done that here in this state, much less any other state, is beyond me. That's another reason to get
reality deals from the bottom of the deck. And and these are people that adamantly believe in the theft. And if you don't, you're no longer related.
Yeah, and first of all, John, I do relate with your wife because being the spouse of a senatorial candidate and a congressional candidate, I totally get it. And so when you volunteer, she volunteers, your family volunteers. And as Teddy Roosevelt said, anybody that will get into the arena, we really appreciate your willingness to serve. And you just said something that are two words: moving forward. Peter and I have talked about that. When they want to talk about the election being stolen, etc., what can we do moving forward? Now it's a big talk about the mail-in ballots. It's the voter ID, which is just incredible common sense 101. What's your thoughts on those?
Well, I'm a fan of voter ID, and I'm a fan of being able to validate that you are who you say you are. And when you go through and digitize, and this is where it gets interesting. Coming from a digital transformation background, that's what I did for 25 years, was digital transformations in companies and countries all over the world. When we go through and do those types of activities, we know by default whether the Secretary of State plays along with that or not. We know by default every resident in the state. Are they a citizen? Are they a non-citizen? Are they a visitor? We know everything at that point. That data is already there. So people that worry about data privacy, they don't have to. The data is already there. What we're talking about doing is making it organized in a way that is understandable and validated. Now, when we talk about all these different issues out there associated with voter integrity and voter ID, I'm a fan. I don't want somebody out there voting that isn't eligible to vote, period. But getting back to the point of looking forward, as a party, as we've drifted further and further to a certain direction here, further to the right, arguably, in some cases, although a huge amount of the party still resides towards the middle, and that's something that we can't lose sight of. They're just not the bully voices in the room. But I think, when we talk about all of those different issues, we need to make sure that we understand the end goal. The end goal here is to actually get a seat at the table.
Yep.
And as we've drifted further away, there's a direct proportion, and coming as an economics major and a business guy, I think about numbers and proportions like too much. But imagine the case right now where as we lose more and more seats, and we've gained a few back there recently, but as we lose more and more seats and we lose more and more offices, it's in direct proportion to how much we dig in on the past.
Well,
and
again,
that to me is...
As Peter, back to you, both of you guys. Dean Singleton, who is probably listening to the show, owned the Post and the News, and I think people know his legacy. He's Rupert Murdoch down about a level. And we have dinner together and we talk, and he said something most powerful. He said, Colorado this is why I'm having you with me, or having you on the show. Colorado was so ready for a Republican governor. Where's the governor?
Yeah.
In other words, this state is prime right now to bring, and that's why
really
you're John. You're a good man. I mean, my sense of you is you're a good man, but you're going to go to an assembly. I don't know how you're going to get on the ballot.
What is your path to get on the ballot?
But I want to set that
assembly
question up. But what is there, 3,000 or 4,000 people that will control?
Yeah, everything.
And if you're going to stand down there and say what you just said, with my respect for you, you're beat. They ain't going to come. I mean, you're going to have the measles. How are you going to get on?
Well, I think, interestingly, everywhere we've delivered this message, everywhere we've delivered the message around my contract with Coloradans, which is let's get back to the things that are important to voters, like transportation, education, energy, affordability, and the cost of living. Let's get back to those issues again and get those fixed. That brings us longevity. Now, most of the people that I speak to, believe it or not, they turn around. A gentleman here, I'm out in Mesa County today. A gentleman came up to me today and said, how do I donate? And I thought, well, and so the campaigns, by the way, are very humbling when that happens. It's really gratifying to hear that message actually resonates. And, there is an uphill battle there, no doubt about it. But do we want to stand outside again for the next 4 to 8 years looking inside at every Democrat that's running every state office? Or do we want to get back to a point where we can actually guide the imagination and the innovation and the thought processes in the state? And right now, and I asked some folks the other day, I said, when was the last time we had a big idea here in this state? And the room kind of went blank. And I said, okay, let me tell you, the last big idea that happened here was Denver International. Guess what?
As a mayor.
That was a Democrat mayor.
Yeah, there was.
When was the last time Republicans had a big idea that the state could rally around, they could get our arms around? Instead, we're in this trench warfare. I'm not playing in that. I believe that is the wrong path for us to go, and there's a great deal of support for that message. The question is it going to be enough support? And it's an uphill climb. I absolutely don't doubt it. But I told my wife when I got into this, at the very least, we need to change the conversation back to where it needs to be.
I agree. And that's why you're here. But you have, you're going to go to the assembly. And then and then ... Then what happens?
Well, if we make that assembly ballot, which is, as you know, 30% of those folks have to say, I'm the guy. And, if we make that ballot, and the thing is that we've got a lot of noise in our party right now. We got a few shiny faces out there that are going to be a death sentence for us if they're on, in my opinion, and everybody needs to have their own opinions on that. But, I believe that if we put together a reasonable candidate that can speak to all sides of the craziness that is the mess created in Colorado right now, if we can actually put up a candidate that works in that realm and is able to speak to both sides, because they're talking about moving the state forward, not a party forward, I think we've got a reasonable shot. I think the toughest part of this race, quite honestly, is what's coming up on April 11th. After that, it becomes easy for me.
And that's a great point. And there's a new statistic or a measuring category about states being red or blue, but actually gold or yellow. Yeah. And that's where Colorado falls in because Democrats are mid-20s, Republicans are mid-20s, but we're like 53% unaffiliated or independent. Yeah. A vast majority of them tend to lean toward the conservative side. They know what the Democrats are presenting are nonsense, but they see how the right is acting and don't want to be a part of it. What's your message to those folks?
I'll tell you what part of that message is I talked to Peter about this the other day, and my campaign manager is always nervous about me talking like this, but I don't cut through any fluff on this. I just basically get right to the point. I believe elections come down to two things every year in this state. Number one, a bad Democrat, or number two, a scary Republican. And all the time, the voters will end up picking the bad Democrat because they don't trust the scary Republican.
But there was a moment, there was a time, there was an event, Joseph Heller says something happened, where the Republicans lost the state of Colorado. Mm-hmm. Your childhood state, or your young man, the state that that's gone. And now I see a lot of crazies. They're unique. They're fun to talk to. But the same thing, by the way, I believe has happened to talk radio. It's just not going to work. And elections are one in the middle, and ratings for radio shows are one in the middle. And
our path in all of this is really focusing. We're staying on message. We are focused on getting back to the business of solving issues for Colorado. I don't care about the fluff on the extremes on left or right. I care about moving the state forward again on issues. We have big issues coming up in this state right now that have largely been ignored by both sides as they're fighting about prostitution bills and attacking homeowners associations. Right. And we have to get back to solving issues that are becoming very, very significant in this state. And on top of that, we're in a little bit of a countdown clock right now. And what I mean by that is Donald Trump will be halfway through his term by the time I would take office. That $18 trillion worth of investment money that he's attracted from around the world isn't going to be there forever. The faster we can get into, from a business perspective, getting our name on the list of states that are going to go after some of that, try and bring industry investment back in, try and stabilize our smaller communities, try and stabilize our overall state economy. All of these issues that we need to go through and deal with, to have a complete energy renaissance, to have a complete rethink of our transportation infrastructure across the state. These are big things, and they've just been ignored for arguably the last 20 years. And that message has got to, at some point, stick with people that understand that.
I got the music. You want to hang through a break, and I'll open the phone lines up and see what folks say? All right. John Brooks is our guest for Colorado's governor's job as a Republican. 303-696-1971. Lines are open. You want to say something? Do it now. We're back right after this.
Your 710 KNUS forecast is Saturday, partly sunny and summery with highs around 80 degrees. Gusty winds up to 20 miles per hour. Increasing clouds and breezy tonight, lows down to 50. Sunshine and warm on Sunday, highs near 80. Weather brought to you by L&L Heating and Air Conditioning. For quick, trustworthy, and dependable service, call L&L Heating and Air Conditioning at 720-851-1691. Visit them online at bestdenverhvac.com. That's bestdenverhvac.com. You'll be comfortable with L&L. I'm day weather meteorologist Patrice Sutter in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Lines are jammed. Afternoon, everybody. 710 KNUS. I'm Peter Boyles, Jonathan Flora, and the man on hold is causing it all, man. Lines are jammed for John Brooks. He's a Republican running for governor. You got to run, but you can't hide. Talk about your health for a minute. We all know a great smile when we opened the show with Dr. Richter was with us, and it was great. There's lots of folks put off the dentist because they're worried about the bill or the drill, and now it's time to change what you think about the dentist, and that starts with Twin Aspen Dental Centers. Doctors Richter, Snyder, and Rich using the latest technology to make things right for you. We're talking about same-day crowns, no temporary crowns that come off on Friday night, no second appointments. They do it all right, and they do it right away. And whether you need dentures or implants or you're finally ready to straighten things out with Invisalign, the team at Twin Aspen Dental helps you. And again, like a neighbor, not a number. I like that. They accept most insurance. Their in-house membership plan is game-changing for families looking to save on preventative care. Stop putting it off. Take the first step towards getting a better smile and better health. Visit them online, Twin Aspen, again, one word, twinaspendentalcenter.com. twinaspendentalcenter.com. Easy to navigate. See everything that they do. twinaspendentalcenter.com. Call 303-841-7466. 303-841-7466. Your smile will thank you. All right, we're in studio, and we have John on hold. We have jam lines. Let's just start at the top. Let's go to Ken in Denver. First out of the box. Ken, you're on the show. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good afternoon, guys. My question for Mr. Brooks is, well, first of all, I really like your message, which basically says, hey, there's opportunities to be had with the $18 trillion. Do we want a piece of the pie? And if we're operating efficiently as a government, we're more likely to get it. It creates jobs and opportunities. And you've got a proven track record for having done that. So to me, on face value, you're my guy. But I think there's a lot of engineered static on both sides to help foster.
Because of time and jam lines, Ken, what does John have to do, or what could John not do that would help or hurt?
I think stay on message, and that'll help him overcome the engineered noise on both sides so
John,
that we don't just lose opportunities.
John, your thoughts?
Well, I agree, and I appreciate your comments. Ironically, you sound an awful lot like my campaign manager, which is kind of it's gratifying. But it is important that we do stay on message, that we do stay true to what we believe in as far as the things that we need to do to be able to take the state forward. I think it's critical that we understand and we explain what our plans are going to be to voters. That when you get John Brooks as governor, that you know that we're going to be aligning with the Republican Governors Association. We're going to be aligning with 27 other states that have had prosperity, and we're going to be able to emulate those models. We're going to be going to Washington to work with Department of Energy and Commerce and DHS to be able to let them know that we're back in business and back for business, and we're going to be going after that money and putting together prospectuses to get it.
Ken, we're going to jump because of jam lines. We go to Pete. Pete, you're on the show. Good afternoon. If you would.
Incredible show today, Peter. Thank you.
Oh, you're kind. Thank you.
Yes. Mr. Brooks, I don't know you. I don't know much about you, so forgive me if I'm missing the point that you've already made. But I think that taking a philosophical position is the worst thing to do. What you need to do, because I'm a conservative living among liberals, and I talk with them all the time. The conversations are very difficult and very hard because people are strongly positioned on what they believe on issues. So I would say to you, you need to nail your issues, and your philosophies will come out, but you need to explain and detail your issues because everybody, the the philosophers and the prognosticators for
because of time,
Colorado.
Pete. Because of time, Peter Boyles. Can he win?
The way he's positioned himself today, no.
What does he need to do?
He needs to have a very detailed agenda, and then he needs to defend that agenda.
Well, he's only been with us a cup of coffee, so, go slow. But did you like what you heard?
Well, philosophically, yeah.
All
It's
right, stop
like
there.
everybody's
All right,
philosophy.
because of time, what one question do you want him to answer? Shoot. Ask it.
Bring us an update on what happened to the Penderosa high school teacher who was objecting to the Matthew Shepard play. We need an update on that.
Well, I know that's pretty esoteric, and he probably don't know anything about it. I'll get you an answer on that one. Not John. That's on me. Anything else?
Yeah, that's
All right. Let's go to Stephen. Lines are open, 303-696-1971. Our guest is John Brooks, running for Colorado's governor's job. This is Stephen in Denver. Stephen, good afternoon. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Hey, I'm a fallen away Blue Dog Democrat. I fell away in 1990, and I was nobody for 10 years. And then I reluctantly became a Republican, but the Democrats know jujitsu, and the Republicans don't. They're gonna fix it if you get the nomination, which I doubt that stupid party you belong to will allow it. But if you get the nomination, the Democrats, they're just going to come out and completely belittle you on issues that you don't even want to talk about. They'll tie you into Trump. I feel really bad for you because I really love your message.
All right, let me, John, it's yours, and then we'll go across to Jonathan. John, go ahead and answer, please.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And also in reference to the last caller, the one thing that we haven't had a chance to do, and we probably won't today, is to go through my contract with Coloradans. So if you want to go through, and this is the stay on message conversation, this is also the jujitsu that the Democrats are so good at doing. We do have detailed plans out there, because that's what we do. And in enterprise business, that's what we do. We operate off of detailed plans. We operate off of program management. If you go out and look at my plans today, all 14 points in my contract with Coloradans, we do cover detailed plans, and that is the message we are sticking to, whether that be about rural revitalization, wildfire mitigation, crime and public safety, education, affordability. We have plans for every one of those that we will actually cover in detail and stay on message for.
But for right now, Stephen, can John win?
I wish he would move to another state where he could win, because this state, I've been here since 1980, and it's hopeless.
Jonathan, can John win?
I think that's going to be the real challenge, John, is because Republicans tend to run 30 people for every office, it seems like. And you have to cut through the clutter.
Flood the zone.
If you're not able, flood the zone.
Yeah.
If you're not able to, if anyone is not able to just straight petition on, which to me, that's true grassroots. That's when you get out, you meet the people, you door knock, you're standing in front of a Costco, you're standing in front of a King Soopers. Going through the assembly is going to be challenging because it's a pretty large chunk. You got to get 30%, and so does everybody else. We're also hearing on the Democrat side, the Democrats are not going to assembly.
No,
they're also skipping it now because it's so competitive and broken.
It's handpicked.
And speaking of broken, like somebody mentioned earlier, I'm interested to hear where's the most of your criticism coming? Because right now the GOP in Colorado is completely broken at the state level and a lot of county levels. Where's your biggest challenges?
Hey, they're going to bring up gun control, abortion, and they're going to manipulate your stance, and it's just your beat then.
So, John, how do you cut through that clutter with the crowded field and then with the state of the Colorado GOP?
Right, and that's really it's a very good question. It's a very valid question. I think the thing that makes it very important here is the fact that a lot of our party right now are also looking for a change. a lot of our party have gotten to the point where they're just tired of losing, and a lot of our party are looking for a different tone and a different way to get to the result that's been eluding us for so long now. It was really the last few campaign stops that I've made here around the state assembly, or around the state, all the different county assemblies. It was nice to have not one or two, but many people come up to me and say, finally, a message that
John,
isn't
there's a
caught
reason,
up in the mess.
Yeah.
But do you know that what a snake pit that assembly is going to really be? What's going to happen?
Oh yeah.
I mean, yikes.
And I think if you cut through the clutter right now of all the candidates out there, and I think half of the state is a Republican governor's candidate, and the other half isn't. Right now, I think there's probably 7 or so viable candidates in all of this, and some have petitioned, some haven't. And viable, I mean in terms of votes, not in terms of message.
Yeah.
This is where we have to get back to as a party, is staying on message and not going after the emotion. Because what we end up doing historically, every time what we end up doing is we mobilize our guys, but we don't inspire everybody else.
John, this is from the Wall of Shame. Did you petition?
No.
Okay.
Are you willing also to go to forums or debates with other gubernatorial candidates?
That would be fun.
I have gone to many of them, and I was even disinvited to one, probably because of there was some interesting politics in play with that.
Then they know you.
Yeah, I've gone to every single one that I've been invited to, and I will continue to do so.
Well,
good to hear. That's great to hear.
When you're not invited, you're doing something right.
It was interesting to hear the reason why I was disinvited, and then who they replaced me with had even bigger reasons to be disinvited. So, but they were the bigger name.
But that's the party. That's the Republican Party.
Yeah, they're picking and choosing winners.
Yeah. Hey, Stephen. Thank you. Let's go to Hank. Hank, you're on a radio show. Good afternoon. A reset. Sitting next to me is Jonathan Flora on the line, and I met him last week. His name is John. Last name is spelled Brooks. And he's running for governor on the Republican side of the ledger, where it is, they used to say if something could fly, there'd be a
right.
Yeah. Then and this guy makes sense. All right, Hank, you're on. Good afternoon. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, hi, Pete. How you doing?
Good, man.
Good. Mr. Brooks, I just want to ask a question. Your first day of governor, see, I'm already positive projection here. First day of governor, what will you do about the roads in Colorado? Because they're in such wonderful shape.
Yes, they are. Yes. So Department of Transportation in general, there's an entire rethink that we need to do with DOT, and one of them is in infrastructure, which is roads and bridges, and the other one's in revenue model. And so we will absolutely go through, and as part of our digitalizing of the state budget to where every Coloradan can see it, DOT is going to be a big part of that. It's what's fascinating to me is that it's never come to light or never been well publicized that all of the tens or hundreds of millions of dollars that has been spent on things like our variable tollway expansions and so on that sit very, very vacant for the most part these days are not meeting business case, and they're not meeting a lot of their bond burdens. So as a result, my understanding from just simple Google searches and looking through the state budget is that money's being shifted around to help pay for that within DOT, which means outlying areas probably suffer. So, we need to get back to a much more robust schedule of road and bridge repair and even replacement, but we also need to go through an entire renovation of our revenues models within CDOT. Now, a lot of that money comes federally, and we're part of several different compacts from multi-state and even up in Canada where we get trickles of money from all of that. But we need to review those models and determine what else can be done to put money in CDOT where it's supposed to go, because right now we don't have guarantees that the money that they get for certain projects are actually getting to those projects. So an audit of CDOT top to bottom will be first order of business to make sure we get those things taken care of.
Hank, one more quick question. We got to break, Hank. So one more. Yeah. You got a follow up?
No, not a follow up. That's pretty much the question I had. So thanks, Peter. I know you have a lot of callers, so I'll jump off the call.
All right, folks on the phones, kill that one if you would. Folks on the phones, hang on. Phone number 303-696-1971. There's 2 lines open. This guy makes sense. Stop making sense. John Brooks is with us. hang on, sir. We'll bring you right back after this. Jonathan and I are here, 710 KNUS, Denver's talk station. We ready to go? We can pull the pin. All right, right back after this. Jam lines and about 15 minutes left in the show. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Peter Boyles, 710 KNUS. Gubernatorial hopeful John Brooks with Peter Boyles and, of course, Jonathan Flora. Real quick, Danny Kaplis' law firm, just in case you want to be taken seriously, you should choose a law firm that is taken seriously. Dan Kaplis Law is taken seriously. Kaplis Law, a real trial firm, proves the truth. When the insurance carrier didn't want to pay, Danny's there. Out-of-court settlement, you watch. Dan Kaplis, the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 11 straight seven-figure jury verdicts, including a record $205 million jury verdict in a wrongful death case, the largest truck crash jury verdict in Colorado history. Dan Kaplis Law, serious firm, serious cases. They accept righteous injury and death cases on a percentage fee basis. No upfront fees, no change and no charge in the initial consultation. He is a good man. My family had an issue, and here comes Danny. Straightened it out. Kaplis Law, offices in Denver, Greeley, Loveland, and Fort Collins. If you want your case to be taken seriously, he is my friend, and he's the man. 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551. Dan Kaplis, Danny's last name, CAPLIS law.com. Our guest is John Brooks. John, this may be a gift. This is Paul. Paul is a Republican delegate. Lines are jammed. Paul, good afternoon. You're on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to speak with you, Peter. I always enjoy your show, and this is great to have John as a guest today. I've never heard of John, and everything I hear, I'm more and more impressed. But my concern is I'm not a unicorn in that aspect. So I think the problem with as we've already established, there's so many problems with the Republican Party in Colorado today, and in many counties, as John alluded to. But one of them, in regards to this gubernatorial race, is, it's great to have so many people interested in being the governor, but crowding the field unnecessarily is counterproductive. And we have, candidates with less than, $20,000 in the bank, and there's no way you can run a campaign, without, close to $1 million. So my first question is, does John have the financial backing? And with his background, I'm pretty sure that he does. And secondly, how can I help get the message out? Other than, I'm going to share his website with as many fellow delegates as I can, but what else can I do?
All right, John.
Yeah, and first of all, thank you very much, and very much appreciate the support and your thoughts on all of that. As far as getting the word out, you're absolutely right. I'm to the point now. I can tell you, 4 months ago, nobody heard of me. 3 months ago, a few people heard of me. Now I'm about a 50-50 as I get into the room, which is, it's progress. It's not fast enough, but time and exposure are really what makes the grade here at this stage of the campaigning. What you can do if you're interested in helping our movement and our campaign going forward is, as you mentioned, share our website. Go out to our Facebook page, which is Brooks for Colorado Governor. There you'll see a lot of posts, a lot of policy issues, and also that website also has a lot of policy issues. Also, if they're, depending on what county you're at, if there's opportunity for me to come out there and meet with some of your fellow delegates, I'm happy to do it. And to speak to people.
Let me, if I can jump in, if I could, John and Paul's Peter. Paul, what does he need to do?
Well, and I was going to suggest exactly what he just said, is getting to see some, get to one of our meetings. And we just had 3 of them in the last week. There's one more on April 7th. I'm going to see if maybe I can arrange for have John come and speak at that meeting.
That'd be great.
Do you think this is a lousy question, is it too late, or is there a fighting chance at this?
Well, if you go with the attitude it's too late, you're never going to win.
Well, I understand that, but I'm also a realist.
Well, I know, and someone with John's backing and his experience, I think there is potential. It's not going to be an easy fight, but like he said, April 11th is going to be a big fight, and if he comes out there on the ballot, I think that's 50% of the fight right there.
What's going to happen at the assembly? I mean, you got to have a sense of this.
Well, I've been to one. I'm kind of new to Colorado. I've only been here about 10 years. It's an opportunity for him to get out and meet the people that are, stakeholders, and that can put him on the ballot. Hopefully, he'll have an opportunity to speak.
Because of time, do you believe this, that he needs to listen to Democrats, he needs to listen to liberals? Elections are won in the middle. If you listen to the kinds of folks that I'm familiar with, it's almost like a burn. You're going to burn out. What must he do? Leave him with one thing. What must he do? And then, Jonathan, if you would leave him with one thing as well. And then Paul will get you back. Paul, go ahead.
Well, I think he's already listened to the Democrats. It doesn't take a lot of effort to hear their message, and I think what he's got to do primarily is to counter that message with a better message to both Republicans and Democrats, and
that's my
most
point.
importantly, the people in the middle.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You got to keep going with that common ground position, but not giving up your principles in any way, because
Exactly.
I'm a constitutional conservative. But getting your message out there, as many people as you can. Continue to go to these forums. The so-called front runner refuses to go to any forums. He only goes to private events or him-only events.
There's a reason.
There's a reason. And then you've got really 3 or 4 other, but we talk about it being crowded, but still 5 or 6 can be crowded, especially when you're looking for 30%.
Yeah.
Don't know if it's still time for you to do a hybrid, because that clock is ticking. But really, just continue to be consistent. Speak from your heart. And I think then you're going to be able to get your name out there where people will recognize
John,
it.
this is Peter. We'll get you back on next week for a drop and an update. But anything you'd like to say? Yeah, but it's cool. This insanity has to stop. And what Dean Singleton said is true. State's ready for a Republican. Just where are they?
Yeah. And thank you again for jumping in the arena. It is not a fun time. Although meeting people can be great, but it can be grueling, and your criticism comes from the front as well as the back.
Paul,
obviously. But thanks for what you're doing.
Yeah, what would you like to say or ask? Now flip it the other way to Paul or Jonathan or whomever. John, I give it back to you.
Well, so what I'd like to say is look at where we are now.
Yeah.
Look at where we allowed our state to get to now, and look at where we have the opportunity to go. Now, that gets back to that philosophical conversation, but it's also accurate. It's also accurate to be able to say, there was a time where we actually moved things forward together. There was a time where transportation was not an issue in this state. There was a time where we had some top-ranked schools in the nation. Where did that go? There were times where energy was not a problem. We have, with electric cars, for instance, getting back to that conversation earlier, I believe people need to have a choice. But at the same time, we also have a grid that can't sustain it. Where's the imagination and where's the innovation and where's the money to even pay for getting that done?
Yeah.
Those are all issues that we have an opportunity to tackle, but we have to tackle it without emotion. We need to tackle it with logic, with facts, and with moving based on what is going to be in the best interest of the state. And we've had way too much time right now of moving things in the interest of party.
And as a fight fan, there's fights that fighters lose and there's fights that fighters win. And if you think of Mike Tyson in Japan and Buster Douglas didn't win that fight. Mike Tyson lost it.
Yeah.
And there is a difference. And I love your spirit. Put you on hold. You'll speak with Adam. We'll get a drop with you next week. Okay, John? To Paul, the delegate.
I appreciate it.
Oh, man, no
Thank
sweat.
you, John.
I want to see you win. And then.
So do I.
Yeah. And can I get a job as press secretary?
We'll actually have that conversation. I'm happy to talk about that.
I said, no, my parents were married. You're on hold. I love you, brother. We got a big show next week, and
so much fun.
Adam, thank you, and everybody. Have a great day. See ya.